There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up, and welcome into this postgame pod edition of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Mark Hall, Matt Gann, no Ryan Tyson, Patrick Kurtzberger today. The Oklahoma Sooners were recapping a loss again for the second week in a row to the Oklahoma State Cowboys in Bedlam, in Stillwater. What was the final again?
27-24.
27-24. Oklahoma State gets the final win of Bedlam for the foreseeable future. They'll have bragging rights for a long time. And boys, it was ugly again. And I feel like we just need to rip the Band-Aid off and dive right into it. We'll start with the offense. Like, the offense for the Oklahoma Sooners continues to be funky, man. It's weird. And I don't go ahead, Mark. Go.
Sorry, was I muted? I was muted there.
Yeah.
Okay, real fast. I was watching back some of the game, and there's a sequence at the end of the second quarter. I don't have the time in front of me, but I think it was like 4.5 minutes left, something like that, where we're down 17-14 with the ball on the Oklahoma State 27-yard line. And the play call that is chosen for this play is jet sweep running Drake Stoops motion kind of thing. He's not actually, it's a jet motion. And then it becomes a swing pass out to him in the backfield with receivers as blockers ahead of him. He catches the ball at -7 yards and he gets tackled at -6 because the play takes so long to develop that he just doesn't stand a chance. And I wonder, why would you even call something like that? So here's what happens next, right? That, like I said, was at the 27. You lose 6 yards. You get to the 33. It's a 51-yard kick, and Zach Schmidt misses it just right from 43. I'm confident he makes it. Look at that. We lose by 3 points. That's the problem I had with the offense more than anything else. Is, you know who looked actually better than I thought on a rewatch? Gavin Sawchuk. He looks pretty good.
Really?
Jalil
Okay.
Farouk is able to get open here and there. Drake Stoops obviously had, a freaking trademark Drake Stoops game, 12 receptions, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Should be at least two with that PI. So I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I'm not very pleased with how it all went down. And I think it's very specific moments you can point to. Right.
Yeah. Matt.
I just don't think the team has an identity. Do we want to run the ball? Do we want to pass the ball? It's really hard to figure out what Jeff Lebby wants to establish. And I think Mark brings up a good point. There's a lot of situational football that I think Lebby has dealt with all year, where OU's up, 21-17. We just turned the ball over for the first time in the game. We run 3 straight run plays, punt the ball right back to them. Yep. I mean, that's not something you can do in these types of games on the road, playing a much, much better Oklahoma State team, especially with Ollie Gordon on the other side, who had a pretty decent game. He didn't explode for 200-plus yards, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But that's where you press on the gas pedal. That's where you go up by 2 scores, and that's where you can allow the defense to get after Oklahoma State's offense. So I think the situational play calling was, again, tremendously horrible for the last 2 weeks, where we should be stepping on the gas pedal, stop doing these jet sweeps and throwing the ball down the field. I'll disagree with you, Mark, on Gavin Sawchuk. He went 13 for 111. Obviously, his big run, which was very impressive. But outside of that, he would have been 12 for 40 yards. So not very effective on the ground. Where was Tyree Walker the entire first half? I thought he looked pretty good coming in the second half. So I'm just not sure about the personnel groups. I thought Nick Anderson probably had his worst game outside the first catch in the first quarter. Yeah, it's just hard to say what this team is actually good at. I can't pinpoint one thing. I'm like, wow, this is OU. This is OU football.
So I can tell
It
you,
did get better when Tommy Walker came in. I
Yeah, it
remember
did.
us all,
Yeah.
we were all sort of on that the moment he entered the game. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dice.
So here's my big problem. You're 4th down and 6, and you have Drake Stoops run a speed out, and it's a 3-yard route, and he doesn't even have a shot to do that. Brent Venables and Jeff Levy both say that they like the play call and they had faith in the play call, but Stoops didn't run the correct depth. You know how you make sure that your guy knows the correct depth to run? You call a damn timeout before the final play of the game to talk it over. That's a head coaching lapse, in my opinion. And like I think Brent is learning on the job, and he gets better, right? Like it's not as bad as it was last year, but that's another, like, what is Matt Wells cutting a check for if not for a situation like that, to make sure that you get a timeout called, to make sure that the play is run correctly, the final play of the game. Like, you had to have it, and you don't call a timeout to get it right. It's crazy. And Matt, you mentioned, like, what's this team's identity? What's this team good at? I was telling Mark during the game, the intermediate passing game to me needs to be your identity. Like, those 10-yard throws in breaking routes to Drake Stoops and Jaleel Farouk and Nick Anderson, that's what worked best for you the entire game. And that's what your identity needs to be. You don't need to pretend to be the home run hitting offense. You don't need to keep running the ball, pounding your head against a wall when it's not working. That's what you're best at. When OU is moving the ball the best, the intermediate passing game is what's working, especially in the game on Saturday. So that's what I think they're good at, and I think that's what Dylan is good at as well. So go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I agree with you, and I think that it was another good Nick Anderson game, other than the very notable drop.
Yeah.
I think that he showed us kind of what he can do after catching the football with the ball in his hands. That's really good. It was a really good Jaleel Farouk game. He went, sorry, I had it up. He went 7 for 98, no touchdowns, and thankfully no carries, right, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all of that still pales in comparison to, if Drake Stoops is your number one receiver, this is a thing that has been a theme for us all along. If he's your number one receiver, that's not a good sign for a healthy and functioning offense. I do agree that, that intermediate, I'd call it, 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Where the, depth of pass, right? And that's sort of the area that we need to, all you have to do is have Brennan Thompson on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And the threat is there. We saw an interception thrown to a double covered Brennan Thompson trying to force a play that wasn't there. Yeah. And all you got to do is have him out there. You don't have to really do the thing. You don't always have to do that, like actually do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Only one catch for Dalen Smothers, no Jaquez Petaway. We were hopeful for a little bit more action for the freshman. The crazy and unfortunate thing is the offense was effective. It just was not able to come up with the right play or the right play call nearly enough during this game.
Yep. And when the stakes were highest, I feel as though that's when this team makes mistakes. And that's the hallmark of a poorly coached team and a poorly prepared team. It truly is. And it sucks to say, but that's the case in my eye. Like, you have to be more disciplined to not have stupid penalties. Brent's unsportsmanlike conduct, and that's on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll talk about that, obviously, the defense in a second. But like, that's not
he's a head coach.
That's not a. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he could have said in 3 words to warrant a flag like that. That's beyond soft. The officiating was not good. It's not why you lost, but it wasn't good.
I can't
Drake
get
Stoops,
over. It's just the pass interference. Yeah, it's the pass
yeah,
interference on Drake
he's tackled. He's straight up tackled, and we're not saying anything that's not obvious. But like, you got a ref there. He saw the play, and to eat the flag there is unreal. It's just crazy. Matt, jump in there.
Well, then I'll jump in on the PI first. Is that would have set up what a first and goal at the 6 yard line?
Yep.
Where we had to kick another field goal, right? 4th and 6, and end up missing it. So that was a huge turning point in the game. And the ref is right there on the pylon. I mean, he's no more than 2 feet away from our guy getting tackled. I mean, that's just a blatant miss. Now, again, I'm not going to blame it just on that call, but that changes the whole scope of the game right there.
It does.
Especially with it being a 3-point game.
It does.
So blatant miss by them. But I also say the OU offense had 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 1 pick by DG, like you mentioned, Mark. But the one fumble that just gets me irked every single time. And Mark, you said, hey, the offense is efficient, but we sputtered at really the wrong time. These turnovers, you kill a drive by doing that. And I go back, I believe it was the first or second drive. We're driving down the field, hit some passes over the middle, and then all of a sudden we get too cute. We put Javante Barnes in there, do a direct snap. We fumble it around, fumble the football. OSU goes down and scores. That's a huge turning point in the game. You don't think of it right there, but looking back to the score, that's a huge momentum shift. And easily some of those things, the play calling, just like we talked about, the situational play calling has been horrible. Now, again, some of that's execution on the offense. I'm not sure what they were trying to run when they fumbled that ball with Javante in the backfield.
No idea.
But that kills you. It kills you in these types of games on the road, playing a good OSU offense. You can't have that. The turnover battle really, really hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And it to me, it's like situational play calling and also just like thinking about your guys at all. Because how much has Javante Barnes played this year? How much had Javante Barnes even played in the game yesterday before you put him on the field and say, all right, now you're catching a direct snap?
Yeah.
Unless that was a mistake, but I can't tell. And
I don't think it was a mistake.
It really doesn't matter, because on that third down, why is Javante Barnes in the game in the first place?
Yeah.
Like these are cascading problems. It's a bad play call that is compounded by bad personnel usage.
Yeah.
It's not understanding that dude has very little reps and is going to be more likely to make a mistake than Tyree Walker or Gavin Sawchuk is. And this doesn't fit quite into the offense, but it's a turnover adjacent thing. LV Bunkley Sheldon muffing the punt in the first half. Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? If you cannot be sure, I mean, you're certainly not back there because you're going to make a play. You're simply not. So if you're not sure-handed, let's just put Drake back there. Let's put Billy Bowman back there again. Let's put Peyton Bowen back there. Let's put someone who can do anything with their hands, if that's all we are going to ask of that position at this time. It's an absolute mess to have him muff any punts at all.
Yeah. I tweeted after the game to not let Jeff Lebby back on the bus to go home to Norman. And I just want to say on the record, like, I'm very, very frustrated with the Jeff Lebby experience right now. I truly, you can't fire him. He's too invaluable to what the future is right now, because you cannot risk moving on from Jeff Lebby and irking Jackson Arnold and him wanting out. You can't. And I think literally for that reason only is why he has not been let go, because he doesn't seem locked in. The Art Briles thing was nuts. We're moved on. But it's weird, man. And he's standoffish in post games. He just doesn't seem in it. And I don't know what to do about it, but I know you can't move on from him. Not right now, you can't. not where this team's at and what he means to your recruiting and the guys on your roster right now, you have to ride with him. And we can all be frustrated because I'm freaking frustrated too, man. But like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and all we can do is wait for him to figure it out.
Something seems really weird. Something seems off. For the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if there was sort of a mutual uncoupling of sorts at the end of the year. Because it does seem like he's been a little, I don't know, absent. I mean, this dude is at practice every single day in a way that like I'm not even close to, right? So that's an absurd thing for me to say. And I actually don't like the word choice that I used there, but a little aloof, maybe, I think is probably a better way to say it. And when it comes to, I think we've hit on it, and we've been hitting on it for his entire tenure. When it comes to the situational play calling, when it comes to your third and fourth downs, we're just not dialing up the right shit ever. We don't have the right guys on the field, and we don't have the right plays called. And I don't really get it. It is like when you are playing Madden and you don't realize your fatigue is on. So you got a couple third stringers in for the last play of the game, and you just call something cool because you think your real guy is going to get it. And then Javonte Barnes is in there for the direct snap.
Yep.
Like it's just not thinking. So that part is really, 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 really frustrating. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I talked about it on the preview pod, was the money down, third down, 5 of 12, but 0-2 on fourth down, and obviously 3 turnovers that stopped drives completely. So definitely some instances in the game where we couldn't take advantage of some of the turnovers that we caused from OSU. And even though we put up 500 plus yards of offense, it definitely doesn't feel that way.
Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the offensive performance. We read every single one of your comments. Follow along with us. Anybody else? Anything on the offense before we move on to the other side of the ball? Cool. I thought the defense, they played well enough to win the game, man. And that's the tough pill to swallow for me, is for the second week in a row, I think you played well enough to win, but you shot yourself in the foot too many times. Matt, do you have the conversions in front of you that you were just reading off?
I have it.
Yeah, let me go ahead, Mark.
Oklahoma State on third down, 5 of 15, 1 of 4 on fourth down. So one of the notes that I have written down, defense did enough. They were effective enough.
Without your two best players, Mark. Without your two best players.
What's funny? Peyton Bowen was on the field here and there.
Was he really?
I didn't even notice. I saw it on replay. We didn't notice him at all because he must not have been right. And then to your other point, we haven't said his name yet, but missing Danny Stutzman is monumental. I mean, Kip Lewis, holy heck almighty. He comes in and leads the team in tackles with 15, 9 of them solo, but it's just, it might be enough, but it's also like in some kind of direction, we're going to need to get Danny back on the field as soon as possible. I'm interested to see if they go Kip and Danny together versus Jaren Kanak right now. So that's something to be interested in moving forward. But I Mason, I think that, during the post or the pregame, you said if you keep Ollie Gordon under 150, you're probably winning the game, right? And I think that's, I think that you were probably right. He goes 33 for 137. Long is only 35. We hold him in check.
We did.
But they're able to do just enough because the offense isn't able to capitalize enough. That's what I think it comes down to, is on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the defense isn't perfect, right?
No.
But this was a better game than they played against Kansas.
Yeah.
It's a better game than they played against
UCF.
Texas.
I thought they played. I think they played better than the past two games, the previous two. I wasn't crazy about the lack of a pass rush. Like they got pressure, but they didn't win one-on-one battles. So like there was constantly an offensive lineman between Bowman and a defensive lineman. Like we weren't winning on the edge. We weren't winning in the interior. We were pushing guys back, like and Bowman felt pressure for sure. But in terms of like winning and having a free rush at the guy at Bowman, I just didn't really see it. And that was an issue. Bowman had a lot of time to throw at times, I felt like. And that you can't ask your secondary to cover that long. I thought Gentry Williams played well. I liked what I saw out of the corners. I think Woody played well as well. It was quite glaringly obvious to me that Key Lawrence needs to, whatever rung he's on the safety depth chart, it needs to go down one more spot. Because, man, I can't do it anymore. Not with Key Lawrence, I can't. It's just, I know Reggie Pearson was suspended for the first half, and that's why we saw it. But that first drive that Oklahoma State scored was pretty much Key Lawrence, like, not being a good football player. And that's an issue. That's tough for me. Matt, I've said a lot of things. Go, Matt.
That's what I was going to hit on. Lack of pass rush, 0 sacks, only 3 tackles for loss, when this OU's defense has really been predicated on a lot of tackles for losses. Maybe not a whole lot of sacks, but at least getting in the backfield, causing disruptions and bringing that pressure. I think when we were all watching the game, that's really the glaring notice I had, was Bowman just had so much time to sit back, and you can't ask your corners and safeties to cover somebody for 6, 7, 8+ seconds. That's just impossible to do. Their job is already difficult enough. And with no pressure, he goes well over 300 yards and completing 66% of his passes, because he can go in there and just dissect the defense and find the open guy with all the time that he had. But again, the defense did enough. This is not on the defense.
No.
Even with the lack of pass rush, if you had told me we're keeping Ollie Gordon under 150 yards and his longest would be 30, I'd say we would have won by 15+ points if you would have read me those stats. So
if you told me that, Matt, and then you also told me they only scored 27, I'd take that 100%. I'm signed up, because I'm like, oh, cool, we won by 2 scores.
Yeah,
that's great. Sorry, Matt.
It should be enough.
Yeah,
it should be enough. Matt, you want to finish? You got
sorry, buddy.
No, that's what I was going to go on to. It's just lack of pass rush, not getting the backfield whatsoever, but still getting the stops for your offense. And the defense was on. I saw the time of possession. They were on the field for 37 minutes.
So, yeah, I feel like even in the first half, it was even more lopsided. Like 37 minutes as a whole, you're on the field a lot. But I felt like in the first half, they didn't come off because the offense was like going 3 and out. And it just was ugly. It was gross. But yeah, it's not the defense's fault. That's for sure. I have no problem with them.
It's kind of a weird disparity. Oklahoma State has the ball for 37 minutes and 14 seconds, 15 minutes more basically than Oklahoma does. And Oklahoma has 492 yards to Oklahoma State's 480, and 21 first downs to Oklahoma State's 27. They still have more, but in 15 more minutes of possession. It is, to Matt's credit and point earlier, it's the 3 turnovers to 1 turnover that just ruin you. And I don't think these even consider all of the, I don't know if I want to say all, the 2 at least missed kicks that I'm remembering right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, only 1 missed kick. I don't know what I'm thinking. 1 missed kick. My mistake, guys. And like, you're just not able to capitalize. And the defense was there.
Yep.
Which just really sucks.
Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the defensive performance. Guys, anything else? I have one question before we get out of here. And it's really, I'm going to leave it open-ended, and I want to hear from each of you. Mark, or Matt, I want to start with you. Just where do you go from here? Like, what's the steps to fix what's going on? Be as galaxy brain as you need to be with it. It's open-ended.
Yeah. So the team is 7-2, right? And there's still a potential chance to go to the Big 12. It's very slim at this point, but there were some things that went into our favor over the weekend. So the only thing you do is take it 1 week at a time. I know as cliche as that sounds, but West Virginia coming in next weekend,
Mhm.
is a very good football team. They just blanked BYU by 40 plus points, and they've been looking pretty good all year. And that's a team we can't afford just to slip on, because they're going to put points on or coming into Norman, and they're going to be able to put points on our defense. So you got to take it one week at a time. I'm sure that's BV's message, but man, they just got to put a complete game together. It just seems like the defense plays really well. One, maybe it's the offense. I don't think there's really been a complete game since Texas. And that's what we really need to get back to, is complementary football. And hopefully they can start with West Virginia. Again, another good team that's coming in. And hey, listen, you can get to 10-2 by the end of the year, maybe have a chance at the Big 12 championship if things fall into your favor, and then really go from there. Because again, that could potentially get you to a New Year's Six bowl or something of that nature. But the focus has got to be West Virginia, who's no slacker in the Big 12.
Mark.
I think you figure out what you have in the running back room. I think all of the change needs to come on the offensive side of the ball, or looks, right? Defense is pretty solid, and I'll get to some stuff there. But I think you figure out what you have in the running back room, and you decide what you're going to do at receiver moving forward. You got to figure out, I think that we actually did find a good distribution this week. Maybe you want a couple more guys involved, right? But Drake gets 12, Jaleel gets 7, Nick Anderson gets 3, and then a handful of guys get a catch. I like those 3 being at the top of the list. I just would like that distribution to be moved around a little bit too, right? If you're Brent Venables, you take the reins a lot more on these 3rd and 4th downs and say, here's the kind of play I want to run. Here's what I want. And you just get sort of demanding because you're the head coach, and you need to be able to make those decisions so that you can own those decisions, because I don't know how that's working right now. I'm not sure, but if Levy is getting that duty every single time without input, and I'm sure that there is some sort of input, but I think Brent needs to be like, you know what, run the ball this way. That's what I want to do. And they can talk about it, but I want Brent to be sort of making the call. And I just don't trust what Jeff has shown us in 2 years now in those areas. Defensive side of the ball, you're 7-2. We've seen lots of effective play out of youngins that I want to see more of. Show me some PJ. Show me some Kemp Lewis, 15 tackles. Show me a little bit of Kobe McKenzie, who came in and played a ton in relief of Jaron Kanek, who just didn't, and had 7 tackles. Show me Robert Spears Jennings. Give me as much Peyton Bowen as possible. I think all of these guys are the future of the defense and are effective enough now that you can start to give them some real reps and see how they play out. If they don't work, you've always got some older dudes in the backfield or up front that you can get on the field and take the spot back. So that's how I look at it. 7-2, man. We're on a freaking rocket obstacle course to meet up with USC in the Alamo Bowl, and it's going to be fun.
Would be a shame.
Yeah, I think so. You're 7-2. You have those 3 regular season games left, and all of those games you should win. And not only should you win, you should win by double digits. So I think the goal, and it sounds dumb, is to win those 3 games, and you don't need to focus on, let's get some help for the Big 12 title. You literally are going to have to take this 1 week at a time and not look past anyone and be effective in every aspect of the game plan accordingly. Don't sleepwalk. Don't get punched in the mouth. You can do this. You're a very talented team, and Brent knows what he's doing. Offensively, like you said, figure out who your featured tailback is and make them the featured guy and do it and give them the most carries. At this point, I don't give a shit who it is, but pick somebody. And I'm done seeing 4 different running backs a game. I can't do it. There's no reason. You don't get anybody in any sort of rhythm by doing that. That's just nuts. And then offensively, like I said, I think the intermediate passing game is what needs to be your bread and butter. That's what it needs to be. So that's where I think you go. Anything else, guys, before we get out of here?
Let's find a new kicker. He's missed 6 out of the last, I think, 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean
he's got to have like no confidence whatsoever. I mean,
dude, at this point, let Dylan Gabriel kick field goals because he sure can punt. Like, let him try, I guess, because it can't be worse. You can't miss a 20-yard field goal. That's insane.
There is one thing I called the punt.
Yeah, you did. You did.
You did call
doing that.
Yeah,
Congratulations, crazy. That was fun. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, huh? Thumbs up.
Yeah, nice. Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay.
No, other thumb.
All right. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you like this content that we're pushing out for you guys, go ahead and like, subscribe to the channel. You can also find us on all of your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. That's where you can find us, programguys.com, all of that stuff. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Tough loss, but we'll be back next week for West Virginia. What?
MVP.
God dang it. I do it every time. MVP for me quickly is Kip Lewis. That's just
cool.
mine. Yeah.
Yep. If you're taking him, I'm going to go Drake Stoops. Really showed out and gave his gosh darn all in his final Bedlam game. Should have had at least one extra touchdown. Real freaking shame that it goes out with a loss. My MVP, Drake Stoops, Matt Gann.
Matt?
I mean, I feel like you guys chose the 2 top MVPs of the game. I'm going to go second half, Tyree Walker. If we would have saw more of him in the first half, I think it might have been a different game. But second half, Tyree Walker, that's what I like to see.
All right, let us know your MVPs down below in the comments. And with that, folks, it's a wrap. Oklahoma 7-2. On to next week against West Virginia. Matt Gann, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.